All right, wonderful seventh graders. So I'm not going to give each of you individual tutorials, but each of you should watch this to help you look at the handouts and be able to construct and write your paragraph successfully. Okay. So the first thing you all need to do, all right, you need to start off your paragraphs, all right, with an argument. That argument consists of two things. All right, it consists of a sentence or a series of sentences that that will grab the reader's attention, and it then consists of a thesis, right? A sentence or a series of sentences that will forecast, okay, and communicate everything that will be in your paragraph. All right. So what does it look like? Let me just show you. First sentence, argument sentences with attention grabbers. So I want you all to either do that by having a bold statement or by starting off your paragraphs with a series of questions. So what does it look like for Matthias? His bold statement might be, um, the U.S. has one of the largest militaries in the world. But the Chinese military is superior to the US. Notice that I'm communicating through my attention grabber. All right, I'm going to communicate my big idea here in black parentheses. Okay, so that's a bold statement. What does a series of questions look like for Matthias? He might say, "Did you know that U.S. has one of the biggest and most powerful militaries in the world? Did you know that the U.S. has 14 million, that's not true, but 14 million people are part of its active military? Well, I'm here to tell you that even with that said, the Chinese military is superior to the U.S. So that is another attention grabber. You start off with a series of questions, and then you give your right. You communicate your big idea by issuing a statement that kind of answers or responds to the series of questions that you start your paper out with. All right. So I want everybody to start out their paper with a bold statement that communicates this big idea. All right, that I've put in black with parentheses, okay? Or a series of questions that communicate somehow this big idea, all right? The next sentence after your attention grabber needs to then be, all right, a thesis, all right? And you can use this language that is in your rubric. In this paragraph, I will, and then you need to communicate all of these big ideas down here, right? So let's go forward with Macy, right? She might say in this paragraph, after her attention grabber, in this paragraph, um, I will demonstrate how the one child policy is not an effective response because it does not reduce the population, it just rearranges the population. I will also demonstrate how the one child policy is inhumane and has a negative moral impact and does not impact the entire country. These are her big ideas, okay? And that is essentially her thesis. These are her three reasons, okay? So, after you have your argument, okay, which is an intention grabber and a thesis, you now want to go and now you want to individually start to communicate each of these reasons and back them up with evidence. All right, so I'll come down to Robbie. He has different reasons. Okay, one of his reasons that Chinese athletes dominate ping pong might be because there are more tennis players in the population. He can then refer to his notes, all right, and then say, for example, in China they have 9 billion tennis players. Then he can move forward to his second set of reasoning, right? He's going to say sports is connected to a national identity. That might be a reason that he states. And then he can use his notes, for example, in addition to also, and name all of these things as evidence to support this reason. So that's essentially how I've laid out your notes to communicate, okay, your big idea, your main response or main argument, all of the reasons, okay, that you believe this big idea, and then the evidence that will back it up, and which is based on the notes that I've read that you already have. All right, and you're going to do it one by one. Then, lastly, all right, you're going to finish your papers off with a strong analysis, which is a closing argument that reviews and summarizes the reasons and evidence, but you have to forcefully explain why I, Mr. Bay, your teacher, the reader, should agree with your position. All right? So you have to explain, you have to restate things, but you need to convince me in your last final sentences why I, Mr. Bay, should agree with you in your position. All right? Some language to use might be in conclusion, to summarize, or in summary, and then you go on to explain. Okay? So that is a tutorial on how you can use your notes um, and how you can communicate your big ideas, your reasons, and your evidence. And then in your paragraphs strong. Okay? All right. Best of luck.